Art, I think, very useful to work with issues of environmental problems and climate change. Very political questions also.
I'm so excited for your participation today in my Tower project. Tower Bridging Voices on Climate Change is a podcast for accounts of climate change from around the world. And I'm very happy to invite Lesia Khomenko with me here today. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Lesia Khomenko. I'm an artist originally from Ukraine, from Kyiv, recently based in New York. I'm visual artist working with large-scale paintings.
Would you tell me about what nature means to you?
I think nature is everything, basically. Art
A
system,
simple answer.
yeah, such art system that I belong to, it's such an artificial phenomena. And being in this professional bubble, I always understand that there is such a big difference between art system and intellectual world and nature itself. And I also always question in myself how art could respond on a climate, on a earth, because art as a system, art as a phenomena, it belongs to people. So recipients are people.
Mm.
So it just maybe to build imagination and to share or to produce knowledge in different ways in science. So art, I think, very useful to work with issues of environmental problems and climate change and so on.
Mm.
So it's very political questions also. And nature for me was always very important. Like all my childhood, I hang outside. I was hiking in Karpaty in Ukraine, discovering different hidden places and so on.
Can you elaborate a little more talk about the Carpathian Mountains and your hikes and that landscape and the hidden places? Could you share a little bit about your passion for those places?
Yeah, Karpaty is such a region where local people still live with traditional life, kind of 19th century, very simple relation to soil, to nature. So very basic. They feed cows, they feed animals, then they get some products from them. So money almost doesn't work. Money almost don't work there as a mediation for economy. So everything they grow, they could consume. That's why it's very unique, and the social life is also quite old. I mean, quite archaic. That's why it's so interesting. So they have traditions. They are not so universalized. When we were students, we were traveling in the mountains, but also among the villages to meet people, to hang with them. Sometimes we stay with them for some time, live their life, and so on. So this is way of living life, being very close to the nature. I took the landscape of Karpaty as a topic for my work. I did an expedition to the mountains with my friends with photo camera to shoot landscapes, to think how landscape has been changed with privatization of the land and new kind of this new liberal economy with this, I would say, cowboy capitalism, because 90s and 2000s in Ukraine, it's new country, and of course it was wild in economical meaning. So a lot of common property, state property was privatized, of course, and people built chaotically some, I don't know, hotels or villas. And I wanted to learn how Carpathian landscape has been changed through this new wild economy. After this expedition, I produced a big series of very large monumental works that ironically criticize this optimism of privatization and of buildings, of course, through ironic maybe teasing a little bit on this advertisement, on this optimism and so on. So it was a little bit, of course, subversive. Water for me, it's another story. I scared ocean. I scared big waves. 10 years ago, I used the idea of waves to build it as metaphor of capturing the land, because any kind of hurricane or flood or even storm, it's like temporary capturing the earth, the land or the shore. And I put it in political dimension because in 2014 Russia annexed Crimea, whole island that belonged to Ukraine. And as this island is surrounded by Black Sea, so I compared the storm and waves that capture the land with military invasion. So I use a metaphor of disaster, of natural disaster, I would say. Now I would not do this again because I would not compare war crimes with natural disaster. It's man-made and it's Earth. It's a different story. So, but at that time I was looking for metaphor and put my personal attitude of scaring of the waves to this political topic.
A lot has happened in Ukraine since the annexation. You have mentioned about ecocide, and would you talk a little bit about the environmental changes that have happened, um, and maybe some are related to climate change, maybe some are more related to the annexation?
I think most impactful ecocide that Russia did on Ukrainian territory with the recent war after the full-scale invasion in 2022 was an explosion of the dam in Kherson, in the south of Ukraine. It was a huge dam, and they just blew it out, and it was a huge flood. I mean, it was like tsunami that took life of hundreds of people, destroyed many villages, but also it was an artificial pond or artificial sea water collector, and because it's very agriculture area, a lot of fields. Of course, it all was built in 50s or 60s in Soviet time. All this kind of change of economy to agriculture, and this water reservoir, of course, was feeding all this economy in that area. After we were shocked of catastrophe, of crime, and then we started a discussion what will be with this territory. Would it turn to the desert? Because if not a water feeding the earth, feeding the soil, so there are winds and sand will like expand the territory. But suddenly, because probably it was done in right time of the season, suddenly it surprisingly didn't turn to the desert, it turned to the new forest. So on the bottom of this water collectors, that water gone, after water gone, some new trees start to grow, and now it's a green sea of the new woods. Now scientists try to squeeze there and to take some samples of the earth and of the plants to figure out what the ecosystem is appearing, but it's very dangerous territory. We have very modern kind of wars that everything is controlling with small drones. And there are many kill zones that people could not enter because you can't hide and you will immediately target it. And this area, it's kind of this killing zone. So scientists could spend their maximum 20 minutes, like 2 times a year, being followed by soldiers, by especially troops who could provide them there. So it's, I think, most impactful changes because it will change whole, I think, area there. This, and also it's a big threat with other dams because we have many of them, and Russia always tried to target it. to, of course, destroy economy and also kill people and make this threat for people. So we don't know. It's another way of war crimes. Another story is that Ukraine, main treasure in Ukraine, it's black soil, and all the front line that is 1,000 kilometers long, and also we have it wide. So it's not just thin line; it's a territory that like cut country on a two parts. So it's all polluting and poisoning with weapon, with chemicals, with bullets, with some trash of the war. I can imagine that it's also poison for the earth for some years. So, and it's a soil that feeds not only Ukrainians, it feeds Africa, it feeds many countries who really need this grain. It's a huge pollution of treasure, and I have an idea that such countries like Ukraine or Brazil, for example, that have something that plays very key role for whole planet. Like, for example, Brazil has this rainforests, and politics in Brazil make it like instinct and disappearing slowly with this stupid economy and stupid meat production and this corruption and also privatization of the land. In Ukraine, with the war and the Russian imperialistic expanding on the land, it's also a big threat to the food bank for the human being, you know, as well as Brazil. It's a big threat of our Occident. I think such countries have to be definitely under the global protection of whole people, you know. So these things should not be uh, taken, you know, should not be threatening these important sources that are not only for making money, it's for surviving.
That's very helpful to have that information here from you. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, you have already talked a little bit about adaptations and solutions as an artist, how you try to raise awareness of different climate events. Do you have any other thoughts, like what we can do, what hope we have, and what solutions there might be to tackle these environmental crises?
We have learned how to be more accurate,
Learn how to be more.
accurate and patient with earth and with sources, not overconsume. I think consumerism is the main one of the main problems. So many things that have to be solved. But hopefully young generation is more aware. Like my daughter, 14 years old, her main concern is climate change and ecological catastrophe that all people bring in here, especially elder generation. So they even in school they are learning that okay, we have this. Kids have this succession from adults. So adults spoil everything, and kids have to like save the world, and they are mad, of course, on us. And I absolutely agree with them. So we have to educate ourselves and be careful, not overconsume. So many small details that have to change our everyday behavior. I think also with art, so art has to be more ethical, I think, in the meaning of consumption or reusing or using materials. I think art is important. It's not like, doesn't have to instinct or disappear as a system, but it's a part of global economy. Art is also economy, so it has to change as everything.
I would also like to hear you speak in Ukrainian. Tower is a multilingual project. And could you share some part that you feel that you would like to share to people in Ukraine or who speak Ukrainian? maybe something about the solutions.
Українці дуже переживають через забруднення своєї землі і через погіршення екологічної ситуації. І так само говорять про знищення тварин, про знищення лісів і про знищення полів, так само, як і про вбивство людей. Для нас це все знаходиться на одній шкалі цінностей. Ми бачимо дуже багато відео в інтернеті, де військові рятують тварин з зони бойових дій, де вони турботливо ставляться до довкілля. І що українські військові, вони справді захисники. Це захисники в широкому сенсі, які захищають не тільки себе або свої сім'ї, вони захищають землю.
Thank you so much. My heart goes to Ukrainian people, and I'm really grateful for
Thank you
having
so
you
much.
talk to with me.
So much.